Namaste, hello and welcome. I'm James and I'm the lead facilitator here on the Path of Yoga Teacher Training. Now I know you're here because you're interested in becoming certified as a yoga teacher and sharing your love for yoga with others. And whether you've been practicing yoga for many, many years or if you've only just recently fallen in love with it, let me tell you that you are in the right place. For many people, a yoga teacher training is a life-changing experience, but it also opens the door to an amazingly rewarding way to make a living, or simply to make some additional income, all the while doing something that you love and changing people's lives along the way. Now, I know there's so many different trainings out there, and it can be really difficult to figure out which is the right one for you. So what we're going to do today is give you an opportunity to see how we do things here at Path of Yoga. So you can see what makes Path of Yoga one of the best trainings in the world, and what makes this course such a unique and special experience. Before I began practicing yoga, life was pretty different to how it is now. I was not in a good place. I was lost, directionless. I went through periods of being on anti-anxiety medication, antidepressants. I struggled with addiction, compulsive behaviors, and a whole bunch of self-destructive tendencies. If things had carried on in that way, I honestly don't know if I'd still be here today. But then in 2006, whilst on a 6-month journey through India, I discovered yoga, and my experience of life began to shift. And I was so grateful for these changes that all I wanted to do was be able to share this practice with others and to help them heal in the same way that I had done. But I hadn't seen anything yet. Nothing could prepare me for the life change that I experienced when I finally did my first yoga teacher training. And from the day that I graduated, well, I've never looked back. I've been a traveling yoga teacher based mainly in India and Thailand, but teaching workshops and courses all over the world and going to the UK twice a year to teach weekend workshops at the lovely Tri-Yoga and Life Center studios in London. So it's been a really great period in my life. And during this time, it quickly became clear that I didn't just want to teach yoga classes. What interested me was creating long-form retreats, courses, and trainings that would give students the opportunity to go much deeper into their practice. And I wanted to facilitate the kind of transformation that I myself had experienced. Over the years, I've taught in a whole bunch of different schools with different teacher trainings, alongside different teachers in different teaching teams in different countries. And something that I saw was that the content and the quality of teacher trainings varied wildly. I wanted to build a school that worked to the highest standard, where it wasn't just a yoga holiday where you get a certificate at the end of it. I wanted to create a course that would still be heaps of fun, but where we would also continuously coach and support the students through a challenging but rewarding system of teaching practice, assessments, practicums, and most importantly, ongoing feedback, so that students could find their own authentic voice. And so that by the time that they graduated, they were genuinely ready to teach. And at the same time as this, I recognize that none of us should be teaching unless we are in a continuous process of working on ourselves. So alongside the training of basic teaching skills and everything else that we have in this course, Our other major emphasis is what I like to call heart work. And this is a process of self-inquiry, of shining the light of awareness on our shadow, the parts of ourselves that we hide from the world, or possibly that we hide even from ourselves. So we start to uncover our conditioning and our deep-rooted belief that we are not worthy of love or happiness or success, or whatever it is for you. I wanted to create something that was truly transformational. And so from this desire, the Path of Yoga School was born. And over the years, I have had the privilege of supporting hundreds of students on this path. The most important question to ask when you're trying to choose which yoga teacher training is, who are your teachers? Now, I spent many years traveling and teaching and learning across Europe, Asia, and America. And I had the good fortune to encounter some mind-blowingly inspirational teachers. Teachers that I was then able to invite onto our retreats and trainings as facilitators or perhaps as guest speakers. But of course, I was never able to invite all of them onto the same training at the same time. Well, not until now. Putting our training online has given us the opportunity to bring all of these world-class teachers together onto the same course. And I feel blessed to be able to tell you that I'm teaching alongside one of the most exciting teaching teams anywhere in the online space. We have Susan Marufo from LA. She runs the Samarasa Yoga Center, and she's teaching self-inquiry and conscious communication. We have teaching anatomy, the world-famous Andrew McGonigal, although you probably know him as Dr. Yogi. He's actually a medically trained doctor, you know. And Rory Trollen co-founded this school with me and is one of the best philosophy teachers I've ever learned from or worked with. And then we have a whole host of other guest speakers and teachers who come on board to teach us little workshops about specific subjects, such as Ayurveda or social media, branding, marketing, inclusivity and racial equity, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, I know that yoga teacher training is a commitment, and that is why on this course, you can go at your own speed. You can do this course in 4 weeks if you like, or you can spread it out all the way up until 12 months. From years of experience, I know that a supportive learning environment is key for student progress. And that is why we have regular live Zoom calls that you can come on and ask me or the rest of the team questions directly. And then we'll offer you personalized feedback at various points throughout the course. We also have an online student group so that you can connect with each other and support each other and team up if you want to do teaching practices or revise or whatever it is that you need. People often have this mistaken belief that you need to be super advanced in order to be an effective and inspirational teacher. But in reality, that's not what is going on. Most teachers are not teaching something that they have perfected. They're teaching whatever it is that they're working on at that time, because that's what's closest to their heart in that moment, you know? So don't allow this voice of self-doubt in your head to hold you back. I waited 5 years to do my first teacher training. You know, from the moment that I decided, I want to do this training, it took me 5 years to actually go and do it. Because I was always thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready yet, I've got this little injury, I'll wait for that to heal, and this one. And when I finally did that first training, I realized that the other students, across the other students was a whole range of different standards and intentions and backgrounds and ambitions, and many students didn't even want to teach. Many students do a teacher training simply because they want to go deeper into their own practice, and that is a beautiful thing. And the course was so wonderfully life-changing that all I could think of was like, oh, why didn't I do this years ago? So the path of yoga school and this online training was created with you, the student, in mind. This is about you, and it's about your journey, and we are here to support you every step of the way as you set foot on this beautiful path. We will prepare you to be an authentic and inspirational teacher so that you too get to share your love of yoga with others. So for the next 20 or 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is going to share a little lecture and a bit of a practice, offering one perspective about why yoga asana or yoga posture practice is so effective. And this should give you a little taste of my approach and the sort of style of the Path of Yoga lectures. So get your mat, and I'll see you in just a moment. Yoga asana, or yoga posture practice. How does it work? And what makes it so effective? We hear yoga teachers all the time saying things like, yoga is about so much more than just the poses. And that's true. We get told that it's about enlightenment, it's about waking up, it's about healing and transcending our suffering. And you hear these things, and you might be well within your rights to wonder, well, how do these shapes that we're making with our body on the mat lead to these amazing outcomes? And if you are wondering that, then I would like to introduce you to the theory of the 5 bodies. Now, this is a yogic theory that we go into in some depth during the online teacher training, but I'm just going to give you a very brief overview here today. So, this theory teaches us that we are more than just the physical body. And in fact, we are made up of 5 bodies in total, so 4 other bodies, each one getting progressively more subtle. So the first one is this physical body, the one that we can touch, feel, move, interact with. Of course, we do lots of work on the physical body during the course. We study anatomy and physiology. We do asana practices, manual adjustments, and in general, we're working quite a lot with this physical body. But we also start to look at the other bodies. So I'm just going to use this excellent drawing I have of this stick person on the board here. And so this symbolizes the first body, the physical body. And the second body is what is known as the energy body, the body made of energy. And this second body permeates the physical body. So every single cell in the physical body is surrounded and filled with energy. So you can think about the energy body being almost like a glow all around your physical body, but also inside it. So I'll just grab another color here. And so in blue, we're going to add the energy body around this image. So just a few centimeters outside of the physical body. And this is where you get your energy from. It's your life force or your prana. And we say that the energy body is a little bit like a blueprint for the physical body. So where you have gaps or weaknesses in your energy body, then you start to display symptoms in the physical body. But in areas where your energy body is strong, then those parts of the physical body are healthy. So there are a bunch of healing modalities which you undoubtedly know very well that work on the physical body. And this is how standard Western allopathic medicine works, is mostly on the physical body. If you go to a physiotherapist or a chiropractor, they're probably doing manual adjustments and working on the physical body. But there are also therapies, which I'm sure you're aware of, which work more on the energy body. An example of this would be acupuncture, for example. Acupuncture, where they're using needles to activate energy lines to encourage a more healthy flow of energy so that the physical body starts to heal. Other modalities within the energy work world would be Reiki, or working with the chakras, these kinds of things. So working on the energy body, knock-on effect is that the physical body starts to heal. Much more that we could say about the energy body, but I'm just going to go up to the next one, and this next one we call the emotional body. So again, this the emotional body, I'll draw it on here as being outside of the energy body, but actually the emotional body can change in size quite dramatically. Think about your varying emotional states. You know, if you're feeling kind of a bit down and dejected and maybe a bit low self-esteem, then your emotional body might be quite small. But if you're feeling some really intense emotion, maybe you're like, you know, super high celebratory mood, then the emotional body massive. Or maybe you're really, really angry, you're in a terrible, furious rage, emotional body huge. So emotional body is very, very variable. It can be very small, it can be very big, and it can change in a second. You know, something can happen in one moment and boom, you're in a completely different emotional state. Fourth body. Let's go back to black. Fourth body, this body is known as the mental body. And this is, or rather than the mental body, we'd say this is the body of the higher mind. So the emotional body, one before this, on this emotional body you have all of the things associated with what we call the lower mind. So this is your emotions, your instincts, your conditioned responses, your responses to anything that comes through the five senses. That's all on the red level, the emotional body. But here, on this outer layer, we've got the level of the higher mind. This is where we get those moments of inspiration, those moments of genius. When you sit in meditation, what you're doing is you're starting to calm down the emotional body. You're getting it to pipe down just a little bit, and you're allowing the higher mind to come to the forefront. And then we have the last of the bodies out here, and this is known as the spiritual body, or some people might call it the soul or the karmic body. So it's interesting, in English we have this saying, mind, body, and soul, right? But in yoga, we acknowledge, yeah, you have got mind, body, and soul, but actually there's even more layers in that. There's body, there's physical body, energy body, emotional body, higher mind, and then soul or spirit. So this is the theory of the five bodies. Now, each one of these bodies, you know, the physical body is the most dense. You can touch it, you can feel it, and then they get more and more subtle as you move out. But there are no hard boundaries between these bodies. Each one sort of blends into the next. And if you make a change on one of the bodies, then it has a knock-on effect. It has like a ripple effect through the entire system. So you can see this very clearly. For example, your emotional state, right? So that's the red layer. The emotional state, the emotional body, will affect your flow of energy, which will then affect your physical body. So if you are feeling down and depressed, then your energy gets affected by that, and then the result is you might have this kind of posture. But if on an emotional level you're feeling proud and confident, your energy is totally different. And the effect is you might have a broad chest, open like this, looking up, looking outward. So the way that you feel affects the posture and the physical body. And then the inverse is also true. So the way that you use your physical body will affect the energy body, which will affect your emotional state. For example, now I'm just going to demonstrate on the mat here, but let's imagine that I was to do a 5-minute child's pose, like so. Okay, 5 minutes of resting in this posture, and then at the end of it, come up. Imagine how you would feel after doing that pose for 5 minutes. Now imagine that you did for 5 minutes, you did boat pose. Hold this one for 5 minutes. Imagine where your emotional state is at the end of that. You're going to feel very differently after having used your body in that way for 5 minutes. So each one of these 5 layers, each one of these 5 bodies is an access point. It's a portal for the entire system. If you change one thing on one layer, it's going to have a ripple effect through the other 4 layers. Now that is a useful piece of knowledge. So we can start to use that in our daily life, in our daily practice, and in our yoga practice. So when we start to work with the physical body, if we start to work towards creating balance and a state of yoga, yoga meaning unity, union, in the physical body, then that starts to have a knock-on, it starts to have a knock-on effect through the other 4 bodies. Now, how do we go about creating balance in the physical body? Well, there's a whole bunch of different ways, that we go into in this course. We look at the 5 fundamentals of asana. This means working with our foundation. So your foundation is anything that is in contact with the floor. Working how to get a balanced and equanimous foundation. We work with the breath. We work with drishti, where it is that you're focusing your eyes. We work with bandhas. These are your energy locks, so the internal energy locks, that internal containment system. And we work with what we call space. So this is looking to create space in the body, finding those places where you can release tension and essentially find comfort and ease within the pose. So working those 5 fundamentals leads to a more balanced, a more equanimous experience of the pose. And there are other ways too. And one thing that I've noticed over the last few years a lot in yoga communities is what I call the glorification of flexibility, right? We end up praising people for being flexible. But a lot of the time, okay, so how flexible you are has a lot to do with your genetic profile. We're born with varying ranges of motion. So why we suddenly elevate people just because they're super flexible has always been kind of, as someone who isn't particularly flexible, has always been a point that I've kind of raised an eyebrow at. And also what I see is that people are sometimes so keen on getting flexible that they may even be fearful of creating strength, because there is this mistaken belief amongst many people that being strong means that you can't be flexible. And this is not true. I mean, absolutely not true. Think about Olympic gymnasts or even Olympic weightlifters. They're super flexible to do what they do. So what I want to do is draw your attention to this little graph that we're going to draw here. And this is a graph of, let's say, of the state of your muscles. Now, there's 2 different axes, and here on this horizontal, we're going to say you can have a muscle that is weak, and you can have a muscle that is strong. And then here on the vertical, we'll say you can have a muscle can be long, or it can be tight. Now, what we're looking for in our yoga practice is this balanced, equanimous state. We want our muscles to be in this healthy condition of being long and strong. This is a good place to be. If you walk into a yoga studio for the first time and you have long and strong muscles and you walk into a vinyasa class, you're going to feel pretty good. You're going to feel like, yeah, this kind of modality works really well for me. I'm getting this. But there's you could find yourself anywhere on this spectrum, right? So, for example, you might find yourself being very strong, but very tight. Often, certain sports people find themselves in this particular category. Let's say cyclists, for example. If you're someone who cycles a lot, you might find that you have really, really strong legs, but super, super tight legs. Okay? And so for someone who's here, then I would not be recommending that this person is working to create more strength. What they need is to start to work on more length. So yeah, yoga would be a great option for this person, and maybe actually encouraging them to do some yin yoga where you hold the poses for longer and you're getting more into the connective tissues and so on. Now, you might be up in this category, where you have long but weak muscles. So this is someone who's super flexible and doesn't have any strength. And we see a lot of this in yoga studios because these people are often drawn to yoga because there's this glorification of flexibility. And you walk into a room and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I can touch my toes really easily. I can put my hands flat on the floor. And then that's seen as a really positive thing. And it's great that you have all that flexibility, but it can lead to some issues along the way if you are also weak, because you don't necessarily have the strength to hold yourself with skill in the deeper postures. You might not have the strength to get out of a pose in a safe way. So people who find themselves in this category can find that they get injured. They go, oh, wow, I'm so flexible, I can get really deep into this back bend, and then they don't have the strength necessary to get themselves back out of the back bend, and that's when injuries can occur. So someone who is in this category, I'd be saying, yeah, great, keep going with the yoga, with the asana practice, that's a great thing to do, but maybe you also need to introduce some supplemental techniques around creating more strength. Maybe we focus on some strength building techniques within the yoga practice, and I'll show you some of those today. Or, maybe this person actually needs to do some extracurricular strengthening work, go to the gym, and this kind of thing. And then the last category here is someone who is weak and tight. And that's an interesting category because a lot of people find themselves in here, or maybe you just have certain muscle groups that are in this category of being weak and tight. And this is an interesting category because a lot of the time when a muscle is tight, we assume that it's because it's really strong. Think, oh, this muscle's so tight, it must be a really strong muscle. But actually, that's not necessarily the case. Often, a muscle is tight because it's weak. And so let's give your nervous system a personality here. But essentially what's happening is you have a really weak muscle, and so your nervous system goes, hey, you need to stay really, really tight. Don't get long because we don't have the strength to come back to neutral if we get too long. So just stay tight as a way of staying protected. And then that muscle stays tight. And then you come into a yoga class, and a yoga teacher's answer to every problem is stretch it. So you come to a yoga teacher and you say, hey, I've got this problem, I've got a pain here, or I'm tight here, or whatever it is. And yoga teacher shows you a bunch of stretches. But actually, if you're in this category, you don't want to stretch a weak and tight muscle. Because again, that's a recipe for injury. If you have a weak and tight muscle, what you want to do first is strengthen. Give that muscle some strength so that you are able to skillfully control the pose when the muscle is in a lengthened position. So you work on strength first, and the length comes afterwards. And strength converts really well into flexibility, whereas flexibility doesn't necessarily convert so well into strength. So if you find yourself in this category, and we're striving towards this balance, creating length and strength, then working on strengthening and then lengthening would be where I would go. So what I want to do today is do a little bit of practice, and we'll look at this concept of strengthening muscles whilst they're in an already lengthened position. So grab your mat, and I'll see you there in just a second. Let's start off in a downward facing dog. So take a few moments here. Feel free to bring some movement to the pose, bicycling your way through the feet if that feels good, or perhaps tilting your pelvis side to side to get some length through the side body. And then come towards stillness, and on your next inhale, float your left leg up into the air behind you. And as you exhale, bring the left foot forwards between the hands. Now, if it doesn't come all the way forward first time, you can bring your left hand behind left heel and pull it forwards so that it's in line with the hands. And then just a couple of times, bend and straighten the back leg. So you're bending, the knee is maybe just slightly touching the floor or barely touching the floor and coming back up. And now straighten and bend the front leg a couple of times. You can inhale to straighten if you like, and exhale to bend. Good. Plant the palms, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg up and back. Exhale, right foot forwards between the hands. Same thing again, a couple of times. Bend the back knee and straighten. Repeat. And then front leg. Straighten front leg and bend. Straighten front leg and bend. And then come back to downward facing dog for a couple of breaths. Okay, this time, inhale, lift your left leg up into the air behind you. Step the left foot forwards between the hands. And let your back knee come down and rest on the mat. Now, if this is uncomfortable for your back knee, feel free to fold the mat over or grab a cushion or blanket, some sort of padding beneath the knee. And come up, bring your hands onto your left knee or thigh. And feel free here in this pose to explore what it's like to do this pose the way it's often taught, of just hand on thigh and lowering the hips forwards and down. And as you do this, just notice where is it that you feel these sensations. What you're probably feeling is sort of fairly narrow band of sensation, fairly high up on the front of the right thigh or on the right hip. Just be aware of that. And now come back up so you're more upright and slightly shorten the stance by bringing the front foot back just a touch. Okay, hands on hips. With your fingers on the front of your hips, the hip points, just lift up slightly there. So you're lifting the front rim of the pelvis up. And keep that. Whilst you keep that, press down into the floor with the back foot. So you're pressing down, pelvis is lifting up. Just notice how that feels. Now, bring your right hand to your right glute, so the muscle around your right sit bone, and just create a little bit of firmness there, a little bit of engagement. Nothing too strong, but just some firmness in that muscle. Now, keep all of that you've just done. Walk the left foot forwards again, and maintaining this level of engagement, hands on left thigh, and you can start to, once again, lower the hips forwards and down. Now, you won't go as low as you did before, but notice where you're feeling those sensations now. Hopefully, those sensations are more evenly distributed across the front of the right thigh and the right hip, so that rather than those forces being concentrated in one narrow band, we've now distributed the forces. We're experiencing a more equanimous expression of this pose. One last little bit of icing on the cake here. You're still pressing down through the back foot, you're still lifting the hips, front rim of the pelvis up, and you still have the engagement of the glute muscle, the muscle around the sit bones, but now also create the action of pulling the back knee forwards towards the front foot. Yeah, so now you're really working. And what you're doing is you're engaging your muscles in a lengthened position. So you are creating strength as well as creating length, leading to a more equanimous state for the physical body. Exhale, hands down, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg up and back. And exhale, right foot forwards between the hands, back knee down to the mat. Hands on right thigh, and just take a moment here to lower your hips forwards and down. Take a moment to notice how it feels. Notice where you're feeling the sensations as you do the pose in this way. And then come back up, shorten the stance. Hands on hips, lift the front rim of your pelvis up. Keep that. With the back foot pressed down into the mat, the back shin is pressing down. Left hand to the left glute, the left butt muscle, if you like, and create a bit of firmness there. And then maintain all of that good work as you walk the right foot forwards, hands on knee or thigh, and start to lower the hips forwards and down without losing that muscular engagement. Good. Notice again where you feel these sensations now. And create that last bit of engagement by drawing your back knee forwards towards your front foot. So you're creating just that little bit of engagement whilst the muscles are in a lengthened position. So a little bit of strengthening work whilst we're doing our lengthening work. Last inhale here. Exhale, both hands down. Step back to downward facing dog. From down dog, come through to seated. So if you're not sure how to do that, just bring one shin onto the mat in a diagonal position, and then cross the other shin over it, also in a diagonal position. And then you can sit back into cross-legged. So this is one way of working with the physical body to work towards creating length and strength, moving towards balance. But we can also use the physical body to start to work on the energy body, and then start to see that progression through to the emotional body and so on. So we'll do a pose called Paschimottanasana now, but we'll do it in a more sort of hatha orientated fashion. So this is a more traditional way of doing the pose. So legs out straight in front of you, and if you are very tight in your hamstrings, feel free to grab a brick or a cushion, and you can sit up on the brick, or you can sit on the front edge of the brick so you're actually falling off the brick. Get nice and tall through the crown of the head, and for this variation of the pose, have a slight gap between the feet. Inhale your arms up to the sky, and exhale, fold forwards, hands to feet. So if you can't reach your feet, you're welcome to have your hands on the shins or knees, wherever it is that you can reach. And for today's variation, just allow your head and neck to relax and allow your eyes to close. And as you do this, bring all of your awareness to the center of your seat. So right in the middle of your seat, between the sit bones. And here, there is an energy center, or a chakra. And this is known as Muladhara chakra. And it's your first chakra, it's the first energy center. And right now it's in contact with the earth.
And as you sit here, you have energy from the earth coming up and entering your body through this energy center. The energy then flows up your spine, down your arms, back into your feet or legs, and back up the legs, back into the energy center. So you've created an energy circuit that is currently feeding and nourishing and bringing back to health this first energy center. And this is the energy center that is associated with your survival instincts. So when it is healthy and balanced, this is when we feel safe and secure and comforted and held and connected to the earth. This is the energy center that governs your health, your wealth, your prosperity, your connection to your family, your connection to your ancestors. And this pose charges up and balances this energy center. But in order to do that, best way is to keep the eyes closed and to meditate on this energy center in the middle of your seat. Where the mind goes, the energy flows. And when this chakra is out of balance, this is when we experience fear, or perhaps greed, or a lack of trust. So if you are someone who suffers from those things, if you have perhaps unexplained fear in your life, then we might say that it could be down to an imbalance here on the level of the first chakra. And by introducing some techniques such as this one each day, you can start to restore some balance. And perhaps some of these unnecessary fears may start to fall away. So remain with the eyes closed, but let go of the feet and slowly start to come up a bit more straight. You can either rest your hands in your lap, or you can have your hands on the floor behind you and lean back. And just stay here with the eyes gently closed or the gaze lowered for a few breaths. And notice and observe how you feel. Notice what effect doing this pose in this way has had on your energy levels, what effect it has had on your emotional state. And then gently start to come back. Allow the eyes to open. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this mini lecture and introduction to our way of working. As you can see, we explore some pretty different styles inside this yoga program. Today, you got to experience the more alignment-focused approach to working with the physical body, and the more subtle approach of working with the energy body and with the emotions. So wherever you are at on this journey as a yogi, whether you actually want to teach or you simply want to go deeper into the practice of yoga, the Path of Yoga online training program will fulfill all of your expectations and so much more. I invite you to join me and the Path of Yoga family on this once-in-a-lifetime journey. The Path of Yoga course is different to other online training programs, and allow me to give you a few of the reasons why. The quality of the teaching team is unmatched anywhere in the online space. After every practicum, you will receive personalized video feedback from me or one of the team, letting you know your strengths and what you need to work on.
We have regular Zoom calls, so you'll be able to ask all of your questions and engage in discussion and debate. Finally, aftercare. Once you graduate, you will be invited to our monthly mentoring calls, through which you can stay connected with me and the rest of the Path of Yoga community. Wondering how all this works? The course is made up of lectures, practices, activities, and exercises. And once you've completed a set of video lectures, you'll be invited to submit quizzes, assignments, and video assessments to our team of teachers. And you'll then receive personalized feedback. Have questions along the way? Well, this is what our online community is for. Ask your questions any time of the day inside our private, teachers and students only online group. Our teachers are in there daily and they'll respond either in writing or, more often than not, in a video. Or even better, simply join us on one of our regular calls and ask all of your questions in real time. Wondering how long it'll take to complete the course and get your Yoga Alliance certification? Well, that part is up to you. This program is go at your own pace, so you can complete it in as little as 4 weeks, or you can spread the course out over the course of a year. Whatever pace you choose, we will be here to support you every step of the way. This program is for you if you love yoga and the practice and are ready to deepen your skills and understanding. You want to live a more healthy, balanced life and want to help others to do the same. You want to work on yourself and start to address your compulsive behaviors, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotaging tendencies. And don't worry, we all have them. You love learning about the different styles and benefits of yoga practices. You have a busy schedule and need a teacher training program that can be done on your own time. You long for personalized feedback and the support of a community of yogis. You're looking to create a new income stream, doing something you already love and benefiting your community and loved ones along the way. And we offer a couple of different payment plans to suit your needs. So you can pay the full amount up front or spread the payments over 6 monthly installments. When you're ready to begin this journey, just click the button and let's get started. We want to be sure that the Path of Yoga teacher training is the perfect fit for you. So here are a few of the questions that our students often ask before they join us. What topics are covered in the online training program? Wow, well, we get to explore so much. For example, history and branches of yoga, anatomy and physiology. We do posture clinics, manual adjustments, philosophy, the science of breath, meditation, self-inquiry and heart work. We have teaching skills and teaching practice, chakras and energy work, and Ayurveda. And there's also a bonus class that we do with Celeste Perea. She's a bit of an Instagram celebrity and she's on board to teach you all about how to manage your business and marketing and branding and social media and all that kind of thing. And there's so many other surprises and hidden gems in this course. I don't want to spoil the surprise. What certification will I graduate with? Where and what can I teach with that certification? When you complete this course, you will be a Yoga Alliance certified yoga teacher. You'll be able to teach different styles, including Hatha and Vinyasa. And your certification is recognized internationally, so you'll be able to teach anywhere in the world. Are the classes interactive or done on my own? The lectures and practices are pre-recorded, so you can watch them in your own time, you can pause, you can rewind, you can watch them again as you please. But then we have these regular live Zoom calls that you can come on and ask any questions that you may have. And if you're not able to come onto the call, you can email us your question, we'll answer the question on the call, and then you can watch the recording later. And finally, you'll receive regular personalized feedback in response to your practicums and teaching practices. This brings us to the end of our We Masterclass. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you're feeling excited about joining us. I invite you to invest in yourself, to take this opportunity to explore your true potential and discover a whole new way of interacting with the world. One that is richer, brighter, more fulfilling, and has just a little bit of magic. When you're ready, click the button to sign up, and we'll be here, ready to welcome you and support you on your path of yoga. Thank you.